Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Crack the Egg podcast. I'm Adriana,
And I'm Jess.
and in this podcast, we're talking about our crochet small businesses. And today, we finally have Jess's first market debrief. So really excited that I get to be the one interviewing her this time rather than the other way around. And really excited to share our experiences now that we're both in the midst of the 2025 craft show and market season. So super excited for that.
Yay.
What are you working on while we record?
Well, thankfully this episode is not going to be released until the Thursday before my next show. So my sister won't hear that I'm working on something she told me that was not on the list of things I needed to make. So, I'm making a bear from Mom Stitchetti.
Oh, that's cute. Is it gonna have any special theme? Like what colors?
I'm using that what I got from Ollie's. You can't really see it in this light.
Oh,
Um,
the speckled.
yeah, it's just called cream,
Hmm. Okay.
but
I
it's
think I got
speckled.
some.
It's speckled cream.
Yeah. I got some of that when I had my little Ollie's haul. So good stuff.
What are you making?
I'm working on mini loveys still. I'm making the mini dozer dino. So far, I've got the bodies for them almost finished. I'm working on busting out the arms. I'm trying this thing where I'm making two loveys at a time so that like doing like two heads and then two bodies and then, all that stuff so that I can add one to my market inventory and then add one to my store inventory. I don't know how well it's gonna go doing it like this, but I find that like once I finish a lovey and I get it completely, sewn up, all that stuff, I have a really hard time starting it again. So I think this will help me kind of keep my momentum going. Even though they're the mini loveys, so they're smaller anyway than the bigger ones. I think this should hopefully help me a little bit more with keeping up my inventory for that stuff. So yeah.
It's a good idea in
Yeah,
concept.
I think batch making usually is the better way to go, but I normally don't do it for levies so much just because I guess they're just such big projects, so it doesn't seem natural to me, I guess. But yeah. So, since we last recorded, I have officially um, set up my booth in a store, and that store has just opened this past Saturday, April 26th. So we thought we would take a couple minutes to talk quickly about that before we get into Jess's debrief, and go from there.
Yeah. Um, so start from the beginning. When did you go set up? How long did it take you to set up?
So I went, I guess this was a couple weekends ago now. I think like April 12th. I went up on a Saturday because they were doing a vendor open house and I wanted to see the space and everything. And so because the venue or the store is not quite 2 hours away, but close enough, I decided to get a hotel room for the night. So I drove up to it's called Center Valley officially. It's very close to Allentown. I drove up Saturday. I went and checked out the vendor open house, got to see my booth space and kind of get a feel for where everything is. And then I after that went back to the hotel, checked in, and then I had a really nice evening of just prepping stuff for the store. I got new tags for my Loveys and for my other products, in part because of knowing I was going to be in the store, but also I had been wanting to have Lovey tags for a while that had specific care instructions. Beyond what I had already had with like checking off like hand wash or whatever, just because I have found based on my customers that there are other options for taking care of the loveys aside from hand washing them. So I had a tagging little party, and then I whipped up a few pigs to add to my inventory. And so that was the Saturday night. And then early Sunday morning, I went back to the store to do the actual setup, which probably took about probably an hour or so. I bought for the store because I'm setting up, or I set up a pegboard booth. I bought some of the longer, oh, I'm trying to think of like what to call them. Like
The hooks.
yeah, I got longer hooks that stick out, so I knew how I would display the loveys that way. And then I got a bunch of different size baskets to put my pigs and eggs and loaf cats in. And then I also made up a little sign that says like meet the maker. It's got some fun facts about me. And I got a little container to put my business cards in as well. So between getting that stuff organized how I wanted to, and then every tag that I had needed one of their labels for scanning that has like the barcode on it and such. Um so between doing all of that, getting everything arranged how I wanted, it took I would say probably about an hour, and then after that I just went home. And um one of the things I also had to do Saturday night was I had to upload everything into the inventory management system, which was really easy to do. It was very user friendly. They use a website called Ricochet. I'm assuming that's probably industry standard for this kind of situation, but um yeah, so then set everything up and everything looked good and went from there.
What was the turnout like at the open house? Were there many other vendors who were setting up and checking the place out, or was it like um just like a flinting here and there?
I think it was pretty scattered, but it was like I think it was like 1 to 7, and I got there around like 4:30. So it
Okay.
wasn't a whole lot of people. I'd probably say like maybe half a dozen vendors were there around the time that I was there, both coming or going.
Okay. And then opening day.
So that was this past Saturday, the 26th, and I wanted to go up, even though it's a drive. I had hoped I would have a little bit more to put in my booth, but over the last 2 weeks, my allergies absolutely killed me. I really lost my motivation with crochet, and there was like a whole week and a half span where I didn't crochet a thing. So I didn't bring any additional inventory, which was fine. I was happy with the amount that I had brought initially anyway. So, um, I got there. They opened at 10. I got there around like 11:30 or so. We hit some traffic due to an accident. There was a lot of rain that came through the area Saturday. So, um, got there, and it was really exciting because I didn't know how the inventory management system worked as far as sending notifications for sales. So by the time I got up there and was able to check my phone, I saw I had sold a turtle, which was really
Yay.
exciting, like to actually get the notification and see how it worked. And then while I was there, I don't know if I made any other sales while I was there, but when I left, I made a few more sales that day. I sold another turtle and then two loaf cats. So that puts me at least in the green as far as the in rent for May goes, because it's 60 a month for my space. So that at least puts me in the green for that, which is great. So that's a great start. And technically May hasn't even started yet. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I believe there were other vendors and things there, but it's not like we had like a name tag and there wasn't like a formal thing or whatever. But I got to do some shopping at the other booths, which was really cool. I got a fun t-shirt from a vendor that says the Society of Unfinished Projects, and that is me to a T.
I
And then I
saw
got
that t-shirt and I cracked up. I was like, yep, that's me.
it's perfect. And like I don't know that it was meant for crocheters, but it absolutely works for that. And um I also got some presents for people coming up for Mother's Day for my mother-in-law, and then also some birthday presents for some friends who have birthdays in a couple months. And yeah, it was overall pretty nice day. I wasn't at the store too long. But I gotta say, like, it is weird getting those notifications about sales and not being part of it. Like, it's not a bad weird feeling, but it's not something I'm used to because every sale up until this point that I've had in the business, I have been a part of it in some way, like whether it was through a DM on social media or someone coming up to my booth or what have you. Whereas like this time I don't know anything about, I don't know who bought it, I don't know why they're buying it or anything like that. So it is a little strange from that standpoint, but I'll definitely get used to it for sure.
Yeah, I'd say who cares? Take the
Yeah,
sales.
yeah. It's
I
just,
don't need to know why you're buying it. You're just buying it.
yeah. Um, so yeah, but I was excited to see that the notifications come through. I was hoping they would, but because the store wasn't open, I didn't know. And since this is my first time doing all of this, so yeah, so I'm super excited. Now they are closed Mondays and Tuesdays, so I won't get anything today and I also won't get anything tomorrow, but I'm excited just to continue to see how it goes. And since this, I also applied to go into another store that's much more local to me. It's like 12 minutes from my house, so we'll see what happens with that. It's a totally different vibe. This other store, it's a little bit more established in the area, and we'll see what happens. But if that works out too, then I will have a lot of crocheting to do in the coming months. But I'm excited about all this change and all these opportunities to keep expanding and trying out different things. And who knows where I'll be, 3 months, 6 months, whatever from now with all of this, but I'm excited to at least have the chance to try it out and see how I like it and go from there.
So how often will you go up to replenish? Will you just like base it off of the sales you're getting or
Probably a mix of that, and I think it's probably a good idea for me to try to go up at least once a month, if nothing else, to kind of like check on how my booth is looking. Now they will, I do have the option, I can ship things up to them and they will restock it
oh.
for me, and that is one thing that is really nice. About this store. They don't do like a restocking fee or anything, which I guess must be common enough if it has a name. So that is something I could potentially do down the road. But I think if nothing else, it would still be good for me for like also like a content making for social media standpoint to probably go up every now and again. But right now, I'm just gonna kind of play it by ear. In my head, I'm thinking I'll probably try towards the end of May. I know my next market's the 10th, so I'm thinking probably either a week or two after that, and then see how it goes. But it'll be hard for me too, just because I'm gonna be balancing the markets and the store, potentially another store. So, depending on how all those things play out, it's definitely not gonna be any more frequent than that, I think, also just from gas alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, excited to share more on that when I have more updates to share. And now we'll switch gears to Jess's market. So, overall, Jess, this was your first market. How are you feeling going into this one, just overall, before the day even started? How are you feeling?
Neutral.
Okay.
um I like I told you last week before the show, I had zero motivation to work on anything like the week and a half before the show. I don't know why, but like my body was repelling any product. Like back in my where I usually sit to crochet, I didn't even want to be in that room. I didn't want to be surrounded by any of that particular yarn. Out in my living room, I keep like a side project of a sweater. Like that was the only thing that I was okay with making. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just keep making a sweater that I really shouldn't be making right now. But
It's
yeah,
so
and then
fun.
like the night before, I felt like I had imposter syndrome. I like it probably was like first show of the year nerves. It just came out of nowhere. I was like, oh no, I feel like I'm a failure and I don't belong here. And
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know, it was weird. But then we got there, everything was like normal. It was like nothing has changed. It was just like another show day.
Yeah. So when and where was this show?
It was this weekend, April 26th and 27th. It was at Hagerstown Area Community College in Maryland. So it was about an hour and a half drive for us each way.
And what was the duration of the market in terms of hours and days?
Saturday was 10 to 6, Sunday 10 to 4. So 8 and 6.
Oof. But you're kind of used to that
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah.
Now, do you prefer 2-day markets or would you rather do a 1-day market, or does it just depend?
I think it depends. Um, for a con, because that's what this was, a Comic Con that was this weekend. Um, I think multiple days are always it's like a no-brainer for a con. Versus a street fair, for sure, just one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it all depends on the event.
Okay. And you said it was a con. Did this have like a specific theme as far as season, or were there specific like special events associated with it?
No, this organization, Four State Comic Con, they hold two Comic Cons a year, one in Hagerstown, which was this weekend, and then one in Harrisburg, which will be in August. It's usually the end of August, early September. So it's
Okay.
one of those two things. It's a smaller con, so they have kind of minor celebrities.
Okay. And so you've vended with them before, right?
Yeah,
How did you come into contact with them, like in the first place? How'd you find out about them?
that's a good question. Um, so my first show was 2 years ago in Harrisburg. It was kind of right out of the COVID bubble, I guess, where shows were starting to open up again, like bigger shows. And this one's particularly, I think they used to be in Harrisburg, but at a different location. Um, and now 2 years ago, when they were coming back, they were coming to the farm show complex. So it was a new location for them. And I probably saw signs somewhere, like billboards or like
Hmm.
yard signs or something for it. And that's how I signed up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, and so you vended with the vendor before. Did you also vend with them in Hagerstown before?
No, Hagerstown was the first.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay, that's cool. And so the type of venue, you said it was a college. Was it indoor or outdoor?
It was indoor. I think it was the gym or a gym area. We were in like an indoor track kind of space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, was the whole event in just that one space, or was it spread out throughout the college?
No, just the whole thing was here. There was an upstairs that they had like video game system set up, and they had like contests up there. But the entirety of the event was in this indoor track.
Gotcha. And what size booth did you get?
10 by 10. An
Okay.
inline 10 by 10.
What do you mean by that?
Like not a corner, like you're between two people.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Now, is that something like if you want to be on a corner, is that something you have to pay extra for?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Have you ever done that before?
Nope, but after this weekend, we're considering it.
Ah, okay. Good to know.
Yes.
Um, Did you prep any special events specifically for, or I'm sorry, did you prep any special items specifically for this event?
I'd say so. I kind of had a general idea. Most stuff I bring to with me to every show this year, but I have a handful of stuff that I save for cons. So I had some hanging Spider-Man that I focused on for this show. Um, Mothman, Cthulhu, kind of themed items.
Did any of your themed items relate to like the like celebrities or whatever that were going to be there?
No,
Have you ever done that before for a show?
I I feel like I wanted to if I didn't, because my first time at Sci-Fi in Altoona, Pinky and the Brain voice actors were there, and I remember looking specifically for Pinky and the Brain patterns, and I there was nothing,
Gotcha.
so I didn't make anything for them. Um, Not necessarily guests, but kind of um like what's popular at the time. So one of the sci-fis, I don't know if it was the first one, but the Mario movie had just come out. So
Sure.
I had some Mario figures and like the Star Lumily figure. Um for Hagerstown this weekend with the live action How to Train Your Dragon coming out. I had a couple toothlesses. I don't think it really makes any difference though. At least in my experiences, no one's like, "Oh my gosh, the Mario movie just came out. I'm gonna buy this."
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, even in my own experience at markets, like the themed stuff I make, 9 times out of 10, I never get rid of all of it
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So you've vended with the organizer before, but not at Hagerstown. But based on having vended with them before, was there anything in your prep that you specifically focused on because you knew it goes well with this organizer or not so much?
No, um, because I've in my time of doing this, I've experienced it doesn't matter really. Like what's popular one year is not going to be what's popular the next, or even like one show to the next. So I just
Yeah.
kind of found most of my inventory was new this year. So I found patterns that I liked and kind of went with, let's see how it goes.
What were your new patterns and items that you had in the booth this time around?
Oh my God, so many things. Let's see. We had the anchors, a big one and a small one. I had some demonic goats. I had a balloon dog. I had a bluey, a caterpillar, a chocolate covered strawberry, a cow, a bunch of loveys. Um, the loaf cats. That was my first time at a con. No, was it? Yep, first time at a con with these guys. The mini version. Last year I did the big guys. This year I'm doing the mini version only. I had some chicken nuggets, opossums, Perry the platypus, rubber ducks, that big snuggle dragon, Spider-Man, Toothless, and Will o' the Wisps. I had a ton of new stuff.
What made you switch out so much of your inventory for these new items?
Just interest on my part. Like, you can get burnout on certain things. And like, if things aren't selling, maybe you got to change things up a bit. Um, Basically, from all the other creators that I follow, they were all releasing new patterns. And I was like, oh, I want to do this. So, okay,
That's
I'll make it
fair.
for con. Or I'll just make it. It doesn't have to be for con specifically.
Right. So, in terms of your inventory, did you have a goal going into the show, and then how much did you actually end up bringing?
I did not have a goal. Usually, when I make a goal, most shows I've done repetitively, so I just take what I made last year, and I always want to at least hit that, and I always want to go beyond it. But I didn't have that for this show because I've never been to Hagerstown. But since it was with the same organizer and it was basically just the same feel, I compared everything we did to the last Harrisburg show I did.
Gotcha. I mean, it was an indoor show, but in terms of weather, what was the weather like, and do you think it played an impact on anything for your days, or not so much?
Not so much. Um, like you mentioned, it had rained really bad Friday night. It was kind of a drizzle on the drive in. Um, we there were windows and we could see out, and it did pour a couple times, but that passed quickly, and it was bright and sunny all weekend.
Good. Yeah, I was hoping the weather was going to hold out on Saturday. My high school students had their prom this weekend, so I was hoping for that. But I mean, there were a ton craft shows in our area this past weekend, and so from that same point too, I was hoping those people would have better weather. Um, what is the type of crowd that a con normally brings out in your experience? And then what was the crowd this weekend like in comparison to that?
The crowd, there was no difference. Um, a wide array of people come to cons. It you can't even like pinpoint a specific kind of person. Um, there are all sorts of people from little kids to very grown adults, and all of them were in costume or not in costume. Um, just kind of having a family day of it.
Were there any other crocheters at your event?
Yes, there were three of us who were primarily crocheters, and then a bunch of others like who did art, and then they had like a couple of the minifigures.
Gotcha. Selling the same kind of stuff as you, different or
So one of the other crocheters is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Avian from Florals and Feathers. She is my supplier of safety eyes. So if you're in need of safety eyes, go see Florals and Feathers. I had ordered last week these eyes that glow in the dark. It's a tangerine color. My lighting is horrible.
oh, I can see them. They're cool.
Yeah. Um, and I messaged her. I was like, I really want these. Can I put an order in for a Hagerstown delivery? She delivered.
Oh,
Um,
that's wonderful.
yeah, she and um, I would say of the three of us crocheters that were there, she and I are the most comparable. Like we make a lot of the same stuff, but also a lot like we don't fully make the same things. Like people wouldn't confuse our stuff. And then the third girl, she made nothing that we made. She made all sorts of different stuff.
Still sticking to like the chenille type stuff, or did they use more acrylic?
I don't know. I didn't really get a good look at her space. She had a lot more specific characters like of from anime that I don't know anything about, so I couldn't even give you a name of anything she had.
Sure. So then getting into the financials of the show, how much was your booth fee?
Okay. Here's where it's going to get a little bit much. So it was a 10 by 10 space. The space itself was $215.
Is that per day or for the whole weekend?
for the whole weekend.
Okay.
And then this organizer offers you the ability to rent tables and chairs. So
Okay.
I rented an 8-foot table and two chairs. And the table was 20 and the chairs were five apiece. And then
Oh, okay. There's more.
so part of your um part of your vendor fee, you get two vendor badges. So that covered me and my sister. You can pay for extra vendor badges. So for my brother-in-law, I paid for a badge, which was $12. So in total for my space, it was $257.
And how did you make the decision to rent the tables and chairs? Because you have your own, right? Normally?
Yeah, it's totally a space transportation thing. We're like,
Got
if we
it.
don't have to bring a table, we're not gonna bring a table.
Gotcha.
I
That's
would
fair.
I'll happily put up the cash to not have to bring that stuff.
That's totally fair, honestly, because it takes up so much room and then you're lugging it around regardless. So,
Yep.
I can totally see why you would do that.
Yep.
Um,
Well, and then we haven't talked about this yet, but
mhm,
I think it's important that we do. Um, because my first two shows of the year are already asking for this insurance, liability insurance for vendors. Some
really?
shows will require it of you. Yep. And that was this weekend. So there is, it's ACT is the acronym for it. I don't remember what it stands for, but if you look up like craft vendor insurance, it'll be like one of the first ones that come up. You can do it per show and it's like $65, I think. But knowing like I first found out about it last year when I did my first event with whoever organizes craft shows in Hershey. They always require insurance for any show you do. So when I did Chalktoberfest, I needed insurance. So this year, knowing that, I just bought it for a whole year. And already, like my first two shows are asking for it. So for a whole year, it was 312.25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I guess if
So
you
that's
pay for
something to
it,
keep in mind. Yeah.
interesting. Um, Now is that something you have to submit proof for when you apply, or is it like the day of, or how's that work?
Um, I'm pretty sure it's like as soon as you can get it to us. Like if you don't, they understand probably most people don't have it. So you have to get it and then just submit the proof when you have it.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there was a lot that went into just the fee.
Hmm. Um, Now monetary amount, I can't remember if you said this, so forgive me if you did.
I didn't.
For your inventory, how much did you bring?
I brought just under 7,100.
Oh my God. I have to get to that this year. Holy cow. Um, did you feel like that was a good amount? Or, I mean, I guess we'll always have the tendency to wish we had brought more, but like realistically, when you think about the space that you had, um, how do you feel about that amount?
Um, well, I had mixed feelings before going into the weekend because I wanted more, but like I went back into my like inventory lists over the last like 2 years, and it was the most inventory at one show I've ever had at ever. So like I kind of had to be proud if that's the right word of it, but
Yeah.
um I guess the hesitation is just was it in the right yeah, I have 7,000 of inventory, but is it in the right like do I have the right products?
Sure. That's fair. Um, so, One thing I th forgot to touch on a little bit earlier before we get to some other of the financial and actual sales stuff. How did you organize your booth? What was the layout? You said you were in line, so you had neighbors. But how did you use that space?
I was struggling before going to the show, and I am still struggling. I don't like really what we had, but I think my struggle came because there's three of us that I needed to make sure there was space for. Um, a 10 by 10 space at an outdoor show is completely different because most of the time you have the whole sidewalk behind you, or like there's always extra space. Here you have to maintain your 10 by 10 space. Um, I so we rented the table and two chairs. We brought a chair, and then I brought my standing shelves, just one set of them, and one standing grid wall. So I had the table horizontal with the aisle, and then I had the grid wall and the shelves like angled in to the table. So like as you're walking, if you're staring at my space, it's like, you know, I don't know how to explain that. It's like you're looking at the table and I don't know, the shelves are on your right and the grid wall's on your left.
Hmm. Okay. But
Yeah,
not quite a U shape.
ish, I guess.
Okay.
I guess you could call it a U shape, but like a short U because we needed to fit us behind the table.
Right.
So the table was up a little far away.
Gotcha. Um, so do you normally have three people at a show that you're accounting for? Do you like having three people? Is that something you would consider doing differently in the future?
Usually only have three people at cons. Go figure. That's the the space where we have less space. Um, but I would never stop it because it's my sister and my brother-in-law, and they 100% like will come with me. I'm not going to ever say, "Can you not come?"
Right, right. Um, Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. It's like I'm thinking of questions after I ask them and like moving on to the next thing.
No, I
Um,
get it. It's hard being in that
yes,
position.
it really is. Um, the space that you set or how you set up your space, is that like your typical go-to setup? Have you done that before, or are you still kind of feeling it out since you have all these new products in your lineup?
We kind of did it last year at Harrisburg, but our neighbors were more open, so we had more space to like go out through the back. Like there's a neighbor immediately on your back. So, and we made friends with all of them so we could like sneak out whichever ways we needed to go. This one, our back and one of our sides had walls up.
Oh, geez.
Like, oh gosh, we're stuck.
Um, okay, so financials. How much did you end up selling product wise?
Okay, in total, it was 1,395 for the whole weekend.
And how are we feeling about that?
Um, if I were to compare it to Harrisburg last year, it's for sure better. So I should be proud.
Okay.
um, but I know I'm capable of better. So I'm doing something wrong. This is a whole me thing. Like it's completely, I'm questioning things. Um, I just need to figure out what it is that I need to do to break that.
Now, do you feel like the traffic that was there played any role in what you made?
Um, So as part of Comic Con, they have cosplay contests, and both days, as soon as the contest started, like your day was over. You had to stay longer, but like people mostly come for the contest and they're out. So once they started, that's where everybody was. So during, we had nobody. And then after, it's like people left. So traffic was just non existent at that point. And then Sunday, it was just slow all day. But that's on track for every show I've done with them.
Gotcha. Um, and did you feel like what traffic there was during the busier times that it was translating to sales?
Uh, I think so. I felt like, especially Saturday, um, it felt steady. Like it wasn't a crazy steady, but it was like a good pace that we had.
And in total, like how many like vendors do you think there were in that space?
That's a good question. I feel like I saw 200 somewhere.
Holy cow.
Or they might have advertised for Harrisburg that they have 200 spaces. I'm confused with them because their advertising for both shows is looks the same. So
Sure.
but it's all the same people. So
Gotcha.
it's roughly that number.
Did you have any clear bestsellers?
I sold out of a couple things, but I didn't have many of those things. And they were the less expensive. Like I sold out of caterpillars, which is good because I don't want to make any more. So that just like got rid of all of them.
Sure.
Um, I sold out of Perry the platypus, which I will be making more of him. He was really cute and really easy and got so much attention. Um, I sold out of was surprised. I sold out of all the toothless dragons that I had. Yeah. Um, I think that was all the sellouts. But things that I thought would sell didn't. Like the trend of the possums, I sold maybe two. So I don't get it.
Well, and what stinks is like those things are just so hit or miss as it is.
Yeah.
And it's like as soon as you feel like you have the trend figured out, people change and they're on to the next thing. But it feels like as soon as you find out what that next thing is, people are getting ready to move on anyway.
Yep.
So I can get how that would be difficult. Did you have any unexpected performances in terms of things that sold that you were surprised by, or maybe expected to sell and didn't in the other way too?
Um, Not really. I was hoping an anchor would sell, and I did sell a mini one. So I was really excited when that happened. Um, and I sold a lot of my Spider-Man. Here's the thing. For all of those listening, we are going to have our friend Avian from Floors and Feathers on as a guest upcoming date to be determined. We were in very different spaces of this gym, and she last I heard she had sold two of the large anchors and I didn't sell any. However, I sold a lot of Spider-Man and she only sold like one. So it was very strange to see that perspective. Like I also have anchors. Why aren't those people coming to my space? Um, and why isn't she getting Spider-Man sales? So it was strange to see it from that perspective.
Yeah, and I can't imagine why that would be so different because I think all else equal, it's not like your stuff is drastically different in terms of quality or the materials that you're using. I think it's pretty point with one another as far as that goes.
Hmm.
Did you have any interesting customer interactions, either of the positive or the negative variety?
No customer, but there was two vendor interactions ish. Um, First, I have so my next event is a pickle fest, and when I do cons specifically or anything themed, I like to wear fun earrings. And there's a 3D printer who has been at a handful of the same shows as I have that we love these guys. I have a ton of their stuff. She has a lot of 3D printed earrings that I wear all the time. And I was looking for pickle earrings. Like I've never seen them. I just asked her, do you have pickle earrings? Do you have the ability to make them within the next 2 weeks? And she said, no. No, I
Well,
don't have them. No, I've never thought of making them. And that turnaround time is just not feasible. This was Saturday. Sunday before the show started, she comes up to my booth and she's like, guess what I did last night?
oh my
And
gosh.
she gave me a pair of pickle earrings and they're perfect. They're like, I didn't even tell her anything, but they're exactly what I was looking for. And I was stoked. She only charged me $5 for them. It's like, you got a deal.
Go you. That's awesome.
She made a bunch. I saw on her stand that she had more pickle earrings. I was like, "Oh, you made more?" And she said, "Of course."
Sometimes it just takes someone like bringing an idea to you, and then it's like, oh yeah, that actually would be something good to make.
I'm so excited. Like I couldn't stop smiling about them all day. And then also on Sunday, there's a kid who he belonged to one of the organizer people. He had a staff shirt on, he had a radio. He must have been like 10 or 11. And I went to the bathroom and the show still hadn't opened yet. And he was standing at the only open door into the gym. So I was coming through. He was standing like all serious with his arms crossed. And then he saw my vendor badge and he gives me the little like head nod.
That
I
kid was on a
lost it.
power trip. Oh my
It
gosh.
was hilarious.
Good for him,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. That was those were the most memorable interactions that happened, but they were good ones.
So overall, especially given it's the first market of the year, like how are you feeling in terms of what went well, what could have maybe gone a little better? What are you thinking now going forward into your next market?
See, I think that's a really hard question because I'm going from a Comic Con to a pickle fest, which is like totally different territory.
Right,
Um, so like all I'm focusing on for pickle fest is making pickles,
right,
which we hope are gonna sell. Um, but I feel good about going into the next show. The con It's always hard from the cons because you feel good-ish on Saturday and then Sunday's just slow. And then for us, it was an hour and a half drive each way, so that kind of took a little out of us. Um, but yeah, like I'm excited for the rest of the year. Like everything is different from the show before, so it's not like you're going to a con every weekend.
right. And what is your likelihood? I know you're signed up with this vendor organizer already, but what is your likelihood to participate in this specific event in Hagerstown again?
So as everyone was packing up, or like towards the end of the show, before that actually, we had started already discussing what we thought and if we wanted to come back to Hagerstown merely just because of the drive. Um, they announced that next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary
And
of the organization doing these shows. So I was like, dang it, I guess we have to come back.
did they give any hints as far as like anything they might do for that?
No, they'll
Gotcha.
probably like market the crap out of it when
I
the
would hope
time
so.
comes. But like I like the idea of being part of anniversaries and like milestones and stuff. So we'll probably do Hagerstown again.
Gotcha. Would you be more likely to stay overnight in that event or still just do the drive?
I don't know. That's a discussion to be had. I probably not. It's a fairly easy drive. I didn't drive, Michelle drove, but um the worst part of it was it shouldn't be the worst because you're driving through a really pretty state park. But that
Mm-hmm.
was the worst part of the drive because it was very windy and hilly and
Mm-hmm.
going there, that side of the road was milled. So it was a rough road. And we always every time we got stuck behind someone, yeah, who couldn't drive. So
Yeah.
Michelle was going a little nuts on that part of the drive.
Yeah, last month when my in-laws took me out for my birthday, we went to Hagerstown because there's a German restaurant in the town or in the city, and that was the one thing I did not love was the drive in the wooded part in the parks, with how windy and everything. It was too much.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else that you would like to share with the people about your first market of the year?
It was a fine weekend. Um, Decent way to start the year.
And now how long?
I'm already like moved on to the next show because um like today I went through all my inventory and separated. I took out some stuff specifically for con like Spider-Man and Mothman and Cthulhu. Um and I just put them aside for the next con and I'm focusing on other things for Pickle Fest. Like I'm going to be adding some pocket shawls um and all my pickles, a variety of colored pickles. So I'm already thinking about the next show.
That's fair. You honestly can't wallow in any of these like too long, both because mental health and motivation reasons, but also like you just said, there's always that next event that needs to be prepped for starting like yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like a 2 week turnaround too. So
right.
um I have th- gone back a little bit to think because we were going back and forth on the idea of no longer doing inline and going to a corner space. And so I like sketched a couple ideas for how we would set up for a corner. But really that was it.
Is it a significant cost difference?
For Hagerstown, it was 215 for an inline space and 250 for a corner.
Interesting.
Yeah, Harrisburg is way more expensive though. But I think that's the because it's at the farm show
Hmm.
complex.
Yeah,
That raises it a bit.
I'm sure they pay a pretty penny to be able to get that place.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So then we both have a market then coming up on the 10th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so exciting. We'll have we won't do the market debriefs in one episode, we'll do it in two, but that'll be really exciting for us to message back and forth that day and see how it's going. Um
I won't tell you anything until the recording happens.
I know, but it's still nice to at least know, like, okay, someone else is going through what
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
going through at the current moment, and just to be able to relate in that aspect. So, yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. In the next episode, one of us will be debriefing our next market. And if I have any updates on the store, I'll certainly share them then. Please rate and follow our podcast wherever you're getting our podcast. If you listen on Spotify, please leave us a comment. Let me know or let us know what you think about the debrief episodes so far. Are there any questions we haven't answered that you'd really like us to answer moving forward? And then be sure to also follow our business accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Jess is at Craic Creations, Craic spelled Craic, and then I am at Yellow of the Egg Designs. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.
Bye.